That was a very kind introduction, Pete. And I was just thinking back. So when Pete and I first met, it's kind of an interesting time. So when I'll tell you a little bit about me. First of all, I was born in England, but I grew up in Canada, which is kind of where I got this accent. But I've lived here for a while. And when I was growing up in Canada, I used to really struggle with stress and anxiety myself as well. Really anxious kid. And then I'm feeling a bit anxious now, actually. Can you feel that? I'm a little bit, sometimes happens before a talk. But here's the interesting thing. I don't care. Isn't that interesting that you could feel a certain way and not be bothered about it? So anyway, when I was about 12, I discovered an amazing technique for dealing with stress and anxiety and worry. And I bet some of you already have touched on this one. It's called drinking. So I used to drink, and I felt way better. I was like, where have you been all my life? This stuff is great. And it seemed to really help. But then I started getting side effects from that, and it kind of created a snowball effect. So I had to stop drinking. And here's what happened. When I stopped drinking, all the anxiety and worry and that sort of stuff came back. And it was like, oh God, what am I going to do about this? So I started exploring. Now at the time I had a job. I was working as a project manager at an IT company, a publishing company rather. And I started trying to figure out ways that I could kind of change how I felt, change how I thought, just basically looking for ways to feel better, to figure out, you know, what are you supposed to do with your life and all that sort of stuff. And I went on a training course. This is like 2008, no, 1998 rather. And it was basically just a guy talking to a group of people about stuff about how their minds work. And I was like, I want to do that. So I started exploring that. And I started learning this stuff called NLP, Neuro-Linguistic Programming, which is kind of like hypnosis and that sort of thing. So I did that for like 10 years, became kind of a leader in that field, made products, educational products, all that sort of stuff. And then something interesting happened, which was by about 2008, so 10 years later, I was like, well, I'm successful and all this sort of stuff, but I still feel anxious, insecure, worried, under pressure, kind of off track. And I'm like, well, that doesn't make sense, because according to the rules of my industry, I should be doing great. I should be happy and peaceful and fulfilled and all that sort of stuff. I've got everything I think I need. How come I'm not feeling that way? So I went back to the drawing board. And I started learning something new, and what I discovered was that the basic foundations that I'd been living my life according to were false. I had a misunderstanding about who I was and how life works. Now let me contextualize this for you. So I was chatting with Kelly before this, and we were talking about, you know, what it is I was going to talk about. And I said, well, if I was going to say it really simply, it would be like this. You know how some days you get up and everything falls into place and you can't really put a foot wrong, and your day goes well and you enjoy yourself and you feel good and you connect with people and you get a lot done, and at the end of the day you feel like fulfilled and like you've done a good job, and you get your head on the pillow and it's like, oh, that was a good day. You know, you sometimes have days like that. Maybe not that often, maybe a lot, but you know what? Oh, sorry, we'll be using this convention today. This is yes, this is no, this is, what the fuck are you talking about? And that is, you're in a hypnotic trance. So let's just practice that. This is yes, do this with me. Yes, no, what? Okay. Now, here's the thing. We're going to do stuff together as well, like questions and exercises and things like that, because that'll help you start to get a glimpse of what I'm pointing to. So this is going to be somewhat interactive, and how it's going to work is we'll go for maybe an hour 10, something like that. Then we'll pause, give our brains a rest for 20 minutes, and then we'll come back and do Q&A, because some of the stuff I'm going to be telling you is going to sound like total bullshit. You're going to be like, that's not real, that's not true, that sort of thing. And I'm not suggesting that you believe what I'm saying, not interested in that. You don't need to believe what I'm saying. What I suggest is that you evaluate it for yourself in your own life. Just, I'm pointing to something, and I want you to check it out for yourself and see if it isn't true. And the other thing I wanted to say, you know how Pete said he'd been learning all this stuff, and then I spoke to him about this stuff. So here's what happened. So 2009, I hired a coach, and I started learning about the stuff I'm going to be sharing with you. And at first I was like, what even is this? This is nonsense, da-da-da-da-da. Then a few weeks into it, I had one of those shower moments like Pete did, where I was suddenly, oh, everything you've been looking for outside yourself is actually already within you. I was like, whoa. Like I literally, the day before, I didn't know that. And then all of a sudden, I knew it like you know your own name. I was like, oh, that's interesting. When I say everything, I don't mean like cool shoes. Cool shoes aren't inside you, they're on my feet. But the things you want, the things you think the things you want will give you, those feelings of happiness and peace and well-being and security and successfulness, that can only come from inside you. Now, again, don't believe me, I'll point to it and you'll see that it's true. So anyway, so I had one of those moments like Pete had. I'm like, oh wow, everything you've been looking for outside you is already there within you. I'm like, oh, holy shit. So then, Pete and I were and Bertie and I were in a group, and I asked the guys, I said, I've been learning this stuff, could I talk to you about it for half an hour? So I talked to them about it for half an hour, and then we listened to this recording, and during that night, that session, I had my second insight, which was the fact that a person can even see or hear or feel or perceive means that they have the source of peace and contentment and well-being within them, that they have the solution to stress and anxiety within them, that you have good mental health within you. And like, I'd never heard that before. No one had ever said to me, you are already perfectly mentally healthy. You work perfectly. No one had said that to me before. It's funny, my first book, Clarity, came out, and then a year or so later I wrote a book, a condensed version of it called The Little Book of Clarity. And about a few months after it got released, I got an email from a woman in the US, a US Army officer, who had contracted PTSD 10 years earlier. And she said, I've spent the last 10 years trying to deal, PTSD is post-traumatic stress disorder, so totally freaking out and scared and agoraphobic, the whole 9 yards. She said, I know your book probably wasn't meant to do this, but I've had PTSD for the last 10 years, and I read your book and I don't have PTSD anymore. She said, in all 10 years of therapy and CBT and psychiatrists, no one ever told me that I'm not broken. No one ever told me that I work perfectly. No one ever said to me, who you really are can't be damaged by anything. Your body can, I mean, like you can drop a brick on your toe or something, but who you really are isn't your body or your personality. Who you really are is on the inside. So that's one of the things we're going to be talking about. Anyway, so like I said, we've all had days when we wake up, feel great, can't put a foot wrong, day goes great, get our head on the pillow feeling fulfilled and happy and like, oh yeah, that was a good day. And we've all had days when we really should have stayed in bed, where like everything we did went wrong and didn't seem to work out right, and people got pissed off at us and da-da-da-da-da. What I'm gonna talk to you about today is where those two kind of days come from, and what accounts for the difference between those two kind of days. And the reason for that is because as you see where those two kinds of days come from and what accounts for the difference between them, you can have more of the happy, fulfilled, connected, peaceful, productive, high-performing days, and fewer of the stressful, anxious, unhappy, struggling days. More of the good stuff, less of the not so good stuff. And even better, when you do have a down day, which we all have from time to time, you don't get too concerned about it. You know that you're going to come out the other side of it. So does that sound like a useful way of spending the next hour or so? Yes, no, yeah. Okay, that's good. That's good. So let's see where to begin. Where to begin. I'm just stopping and thinking for a moment. Here's where I'd like to begin. Because here's the thing. We're going to be here till about 1 or so. So we'll do, like I said, we'll do about an hour, then we'll pause for a break, and then we'll come back and do Q&A. So, but you're investing your time. You're spending your time here instead of the many other things you might be doing. So my question to you is this. What would you have to get from the next hour or so for it to turn out to have been a good use of your morning, a good use of your time well spent? What would you have to see or hear or feel or realize or discover or change or fix or get clarity on to have made this a good use of your time? Now, I don't need you to answer me. What I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you to just get into pairs, like go with the person next to you. And here's what you're going to do. You're going to ask them this question, the person you're sitting next to. And then you're going to do something really, really unusual. You're going to ask this question, then you're going to shut up. And you're just going to listen to them. Okay? You're just going to listen. And here's the thing. You don't have to listen to give them any advice or to get what they're saying or anything like that. You're just going to listen to kind of get a sense of the other person. Get a sense of where they're coming from. And you're going to do that for 3 minutes. Now, I know that's going to be weird. I'm not saying this is good listening skills, just to sit and stare at someone and not say anything. It's just an experiment. So sort of like, have you ever played a party game? Yeah. I love that you guys answer every question with like a stillness, like a rabbit in the headlights. Has anyone ever been to a party? Show of hands. Okay, so this is good. Have you ever been to a party, maybe when you were 7, where there were games that were played, like maybe involving balloons or parcels? Great. So this is sort of like a party game. Sort of like pass the parcel or something like that. We're just doing an experiment. So your job is to find out what happens when you ask this question, and just listen. Just notice what happens when you listen without any pressure to say anything useful or interesting or anything like that. Now we'll do maybe we'll do 2 minutes actually. We'll do 2 minutes, then you're going to swap. Okay, and the same thing again. So I'll tell you when to swap over. So you're both going to get the experience of finding out what that is. So you've come to an event called Clarity and Results, how to thrive and perform in times of stress and anxiety and that sort of thing. What would be a good outcome for you? What would be a good result to get from our time together here? So you're going to ask the question and then find out. So I'll let you know when 2 minutes is up and you can swap over. Now the other thing is, if you're answering the question and you run out of words, that's fine. Just sit there. Something else might come to you. The 2 minutes will be up in 2 minutes anyway, so there's no harm will come to you. So make sense? Any questions? Okay, choose who's going to go first, then go. Listen good. I'll tell you when 2 minutes is up. Go. All right. All right. So just throw me out a couple of things. First of all, what was it like to listen to someone without talking? Who found that really weird? Really weird. Only like a few people found it really weird or hard. Who found it actually quite enjoyable just to listen to someone without having any need to say anything? Kind of interesting, huh? What about when you were the one being listened to? Who found it kind of nice to have someone paying attention to you and not kind of jumping in? Who liked that? Interesting. Who found it kind of uncomfortable to kind of be on the spot, if you like? And, okay, interesting. Now what you'll notice is we had hands up for every single one of those things. So some people liked it, some people didn't, in both roles. It's kind of interesting. So it can't be the activity that was causing the feeling of enjoyment or the feeling of a little bit on the spot. Otherwise, everyone would have felt the same way, right? So it must be coming from somewhere else. One more question. Who, and I know this is a bit hippie language, who felt a sense of connection at one point in that exercise to the person you were listening to or talking to? Look around, that's like over half the people in the room. It's kind of interesting. One of the things I noticed, by the way, how many people in here are involved in some kind of sales or business development role? Okay, a lot of people. You know how they're always saying things like, you've got 2 ears and 1 mouth in that proportion, that's all that sort of crap about listening better and that sort of thing. When people are talking about being listened to and having the experience of being listened to, there's something substantively different between listening to someone and waiting for your turn to talk. And for me, here's the interesting thing. So when I first got into this stuff, as Pete said, I used to be a NLP trainer and all this stuff. So I thought I was a great listener because I could listen to someone and I could unpack their language structures in my head and keep track of all the stuff they were doing with their hands and their eyes and all that sort of stuff. And I was being coached by someone. And he said, I don't really know how to say this, but you could do with upgrading your listening. You could do with being a better listener. And I was like, he doesn't know. He doesn't know that I'm like a ninja listener. I pride myself on my ability to listen and sense tiny inflections in voice tone and all kinds of stuff. So I'm like, tell me more about that, Mr. You need an upgrade in your listening. And he said, well, it seems like when you're listening, you've got a lot on your mind. I thought, oh, well, that's true. Yeah, I've got a lot to pay attention to. I was like, yeah. He said, well, I'm talking about a different kind of listening. He said, I'm talking about the kind of listening you used to do before you knew what listening was. The kind of listening you did when you were a baby. Because if you stop and think about it, when you were born, you didn't know any words. You didn't even know what gravity was. You didn't even know your name or all that stuff you learned. And you learned it without being taught it. You learned to talk without anyone teaching you. You modeled it automatically. You learned to walk without anyone teaching you. You learned about who you are and your place in the world and all these kind of things. And you learned that automatically because you're a born learner. And more than that, you know, the fact that you're even here means that you came from a long line of ancestors, all of whom, see, I don't know if you know this or not, but on this planet, Earth, most creatures, like creatures on this planet, have basically two built-in directives. One is to live to breeding age, and the second one is to procreate. Okay, basically grow up, hook up. That's, you know, that's the evolutionary gold star. Now, if you think about it for a second, the fact that you're here today means that every one of your ancestors, stretching back hundreds of thousands of years, or millions of years if we want to include like the fish and the monkeys and that sort of thing, every single one of them in an unbroken line managed to survive till breeding age and hook up and give birth to a child who, you know, did the same thing. And that happened over and over again, over millions of years, which means you're the leading edge, literally the pointed end of a development cycle that's been going on for millions of years. So that means you are extraordinarily well adapted for life on this planet. You're built for reality. See, most creatures, 90% of creatures on this planet don't make it to breeding age. They get eaten before they get to breeding age. So the fact that you're here means every one of your ancestors was able to outrun tigers and all that sort of stuff. So you're capable of far, far more than you think, because you are far, far more than you think. And here's the thing, when Pete introduced me, you know, we were talking about anxiety and that sort of thing, but as I explored the stuff I'm going to be sharing with you today, I discovered that this is what underpins high performance in every field. It's relevant whether you're a fireman running into a burning building or a mother taking care of her baby. It's relevant in every situation. And when I said to Pete, what would you love the people who are coming to this to get for themselves? What would you love them to get? Like, if I could give them anything, what would it be? Pete said, I'd just like them to have a sense of what I got, like something like what I got. I'd just like them to have something for themselves. So that's what I want for you. And the thing that Pete got was he had an insight. Now, it happened to him in the shower. And it's interesting. I've been all over the world and I've asked literally thousands of people this question. I've asked them, when do you get your best ideas? When do you get your best ideas? And the answers are always the same. Well, let me ask you guys, when do you get your best ideas? Just shout it out. Driving. Toilet. Yeah, well, funnily enough, having a wee. That's what I often do. What else? What else? What else? Who's ever had an idea? Every single one of you. Think about it. So the top 3 answers that have come out over the years are in the shower or bath, traveling to or from work, or on holiday. And people get their best ideas, their most creative realization, when their minds are at rest, not when they're thinking about it. So what Pete had in the shower that day was he had an insight. And an insight, or a realization, is just another way of saying a fresh, new thought. Something fresh and new that does something for you. So that's my aim for today. You'll notice I'm jumping all over the place, changing subjects and all that sort of stuff. My aim for today is to help create the conditions where you can have the insights and realizations that'll make a difference to you in your life. So that's my aim. And that might show up for you by the end of the morning, or it might show up for you when you wake up tomorrow or later in the week, or like Pete, it might be a couple of weeks later and you suddenly go, oh, I get it. Okay? So I'm going to be pointing to something that every one of us already knows deep inside, but that you may not have realized until now. So I'd also love to hear, when you were talking, so everyone talked for at least 2 minutes, what are some of the things you said? What would you love to have happen as a result of our time together here? Just shout them out and I'll repeat them into the microphone. And here's the thing, I heard you all talking, so I know you answered the question. So unless everyone said, I really don't understand the question, and I know that everyone didn't say that. So what kind of things? Just shout it out. Motivation. Great. Would anyone else be interested in having more motivation for the things that matter? Okay, look around, lots of people. So we'll definitely talk about motivation. What else? Coping mechanisms. We will definitely talk about coping mechanisms. Great. What else? Confidence. Let's use 2 colors, we'll mix it up. Beautiful. Understanding why something's happening. What kind of something, just so I can...
Well, some people like, if you're down for no reason, and then sometimes you feel really, really happy. Why all these things, why these moods?
Got it. So the question is, why are moods? Like, how come it's like that? So I'll definitely talk about that. Definitely talk about that. What else? Control. We'll definitely talk about control. What else? Yeah, how to accentuate the positive, how to have more positive thoughts. Relaxation, was that? Relaxation and chill. What? Empathy for others. I'm going to write these all on the same page so I can see them all. Empathy. I love that you've said that. Beautiful. What else? And here's the interesting thing. I'm getting a hit list here of the stuff. My assertion to you is, at least so far, I'm going to cover everything here. And it's all going to look a lot simpler to you in an hour or so than it is right now. And all of them are connected, completely connected. So now that's a bold claim. We'll see if I'm full of shit or not in 2 hours. So this is cool. What else? Effective communication. Beautiful. We'll talk about that. Great. What else?
I don't know if it gives a motivation, but like procrastinating.
Procrastinating. How to do that better. We'll talk about that later. What else?
Feel better about yourself.
Feel better about yourself. Yeah. Anyone else would like that? Yay, me too. Feel better about yourself. Oh, I love all of this. Great. What else? What else we got? These are great. What else? Hey, strong on this side of the room. This side of the room, not so much. We've got one gentleman who's given 2, but everyone else is kind of coasting. So you guys are going to need to raise your game a little bit. Huh?
Is there a reason for that?
Undoubtedly. I just don't know what it is. What else? What else? Understanding yourself better. Yeah. I like that. We'll definitely talk about that. Anything else, or is that a good hit list? If there's anything that you're like, oh, I really hope he talks about X, Y, or Z, or I really hope I get something for A, B, or C, now's a good time to get it on the list. How to silence your thoughts. Now, that's a great one. I'm so glad you've said that. Would anyone else be interested in where a quiet mind comes from and how to experience more of it? Okay, that's actually fundamental to all of this. So we'll definitely talk about that, definitely. Anything else?
I'll give you one, but I'm not sure how to phrase it other than dealing with the feeling when it's having fun. So.
Dealing with the feeling of OFFS. We'll get to that, definitely. Anything else?
Self-belief.
Self-belief. I've got some good news for you. Self-belief is massively overrated. It's irrelevant. You'll be delighted to learn. It's one less thing to have on your to-do list. Doesn't matter, and I'll prove it. What else? Anything else? This is a good list. I love what you've given me. I may have to think about it a bit. So let's see. How are we doing for time? We'll go about another 20 minutes. So I'm going to set up a few things, and then we'll get going. So let's see. Let's start with how to silence your thoughts. So my first book, Clarity, started with a couple of sentences, and it said this: if a pond is muddy and clouded, there's nothing you can do to unmuddy the water. But if you wait for the mud to settle, clarity will emerge, because clarity is the water's natural state. Okay, it's the same if you've got water with a bunch of stuff floating in it. If you just leave it to sit, the mud settles and clarity emerges, because clarity is the water's natural state. Well, my assertion to you is this: clarity is your mind's natural state. Clarity is your mind's natural state. Now, you may be like, I guess you don't know me, Jamie. Clarity is definitely not my mind's natural state. Now, I'm not saying clarity is your mind's everyday state. But here's the thing. If you were to Google how to have a clear mind, you would get like hundreds of thousands of responses saying top 5 tips to clear your mind, the 7 things to think about to clear your mind, all that sort of stuff. So can I tell you guys a story? So I'll take the complete lack of response as a yes, go ahead. Can I tell you a story? We'll just keep practicing this. Yes? Okay, here's the story. So I do these things called one-to-one coaching intensives with clients. So someone will hire me to spend 3 days with me where I just give them a really deep understanding of this stuff. And so this guy hired me called Ian. And he hired me because he was feeling stuck. So he's feeling stuck in his work and in his personal relationships and kind of in his life. And very successful businessman, but feeling stuck, feeling off purpose, off track, like something wasn't right. So we're about 45 minutes into the first session. And you know, he'd paid the price of a luxury vehicle to be there with me. About 45 minutes in, he starts getting anxious. And he goes, Jamie, we're going to need a formula for how this is going to work. So it's kind of dawning on him that he's basically paid a ton of money to sit chatting with a bloke in a room. So he gets kind of anxious, and he's like, we're going to need a formula for how this is going to work. Hello. We're going to need a formula. So all of a sudden, I get really anxious because I'm like, I haven't brought a formula. I haven't got one. What kind of idiot am I showing up to such an important thing without a formula? So I'm starting to freak out, like this is happening very fast. And then it suddenly occurs to me, where do you believe your experience is coming from? Where do you believe those feelings are coming from? And I was like, do you believe they're coming from him? Or from your lack of formula, or from how unprepared you are, or something like that? I was like, oh, I did. It's like, no, you're feeling your own perceptual processes. You're feeling thought. That's what you're feeling. So I immediately settled down. I'll explain this in a second. I immediately fell out of that anxiety, and where I landed was back in connection with my client. And it suddenly came to me. I said, oh, here's your formula. You plus a misunderstanding, simple misunderstanding, equals stuck. And he's like, oh, yeah, that's kind of interesting. I said, it gets better. I said, check this out. You minus a misunderstanding and here's the thing, this guy, in the first 45 minutes, he was saying to me, he said, Jamie, you know what, when I was a kid, he said, I used to be really carefree, I used to be happy, I used to be fun, I was spontaneous, I was adventurous, I enjoyed myself, I was pretty happy-go-lucky, life was good. He'd said, I want to be like that. And I looked at him, and in my head, I was like, really? You seem so serious, and that sort of, but it was playful, fun, all that sort of stuff. He said he had clarity when he was a kid. So I said, you minus a misunderstanding equals clarity, fun, performance, creativity, spontaneity, adventurousness, all of that. And he's like, great, let's do it. Now here's the thing. A lot of the things that we've put up on this sheet, you could frame them as how-to questions. How to be more motivated, how to silence thoughts, how to have more empathy, how to cope with stuff, how to be more confident. And those are, the how-to always looks for what I call an additive model. So an additive model, the idea of it, and you've all seen them, is like, who's ever read, show of hands, who's ever read Men's Health magazine? Anyone? Okay. Or seen Cosmo or Marie Claire? Ever seen? Yeah. You know, on the cover every month, 7 tips for red hot sex, 6-pack abs, 42 ways to please your lover, 7 keys to lifetime financial well-being, blah, 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 blah. It's always something between 5 and 7. And the thing is, when you read those tips that have been written by journalists, they are immediately kind of, oh yeah, why didn't I think of that? And then you don't do them, right? Right? And that's why there's always room for another 7 on next month's cover. Now the reason they do that is that they know that additive advice is like crack to human beings. We love additive advice. We love the idea that there's a simple how-to. So the structure of additive advice is you plus 7 top tips equals super you. Okay, that's additive advice. The only problem with additive advice is it doesn't fucking work, right? Otherwise, they'd only sell 1 copy of Men's Health, and then everyone would have 6-pack abs, and then they'd sell the next month's copy, and everyone would have, you know, guns like anything, and then within 7 months, they'd be out of business. They don't work. So I haven't got any additive advice for you. I've got something 1,000 times better. What I've got is a subtractive model, a subtractive understanding. And here's the structure of this. What I'm going to be suggesting to you is that you have an innate capacity for well-being, for peace of mind, for motivation, for love and connection, for creativity and innovation, for high performance. Who's heard the term flow? Okay, flow is high performance state, so dancers and sports people and that sort of thing. You have a capacity for that. Every human, you have an innate capacity to learn. Stop and think about it for a moment. If you didn't have an innate capacity for learning, you wouldn't be able to walk or talk. How do you think you learned to do that? You didn't learn to walk because your parents sent you to walking school. You learn to walk and talk because you have an innate capacity for that. And learning to walk and talk is actually more difficult than anything you're ever going to learn as an adult. And you did that, and you don't even know how you did it. That's how incredible that innate capacity is. Not only did you do it, but no one had to motivate you to do it. You have innate motivation. And you weren't afraid of failure or criticism. Isn't that interesting? You just kept doing it. Like, can you imagine how many times you must have fell over in the process of learning to stand up or walk? You just kept going because you didn't give a shit. It's not like you had really amazing self-belief and then you lost it. No, you just didn't give a shit about self-belief. You didn't have to believe anything about yourself when you were learning to walk. All you believed was, I want to learn to walk. And so you did. So what I'm going to be suggesting is that all of these are going to turn out to be expressions of innate capacities that you already have. And I'm going to be suggesting that clarity, and when I talk about clarity, I'm talking about kind of a generalized, you could say clarity of understanding about how your mind works in a way that shows up and does something for you, that allows you to, clarity is kind of good for what you need in the moment. So the kind of clarity you experience when you're sitting on a beach at sunset with your lover is different than the kind of clarity that you may want when you're about to close a deal, and different than the clarity you may want when you're just, you know, enjoying yourself at a party or something like that. It's just a way of saying being present and connected with all your resources available to you in the moment. So that's what I mean by clarity, and I'm going to suggest that you have a capacity for that that's innate. And that the only thing that gets in the way of it is what I call contaminated thinking. So clarity equals capacity minus contamination. And as you get a deeper understanding of the stuff I'm going to be sharing with you today, you'll find that you have a clear mind more effortlessly, that you have deeper connections with other people, that you get free from stress and anxiety more quickly and easily. You discover that when you don't have all that stuff on your mind, you actually have what you need for the job at hand. So that's going to be my assertion to you, but you don't have to take my word for it. So I want to do one more thing, and then we'll have a little break, I think. So let's look at our list again. So we've got, well, it's interesting. So I was asking people beforehand, what would you love to get from this? And I heard a variety of answers ranging from more positive to more money to more enjoyment, that sort of thing. And see, here's the thing. This raises an interesting question. Moving from an additive model to a subtractive model, the question shifts from how do I be more motivated? How do I have less stress? How do I get over my bad moods? How do I X, Y, and Z? Shifts to where's that coming from in the first place? If I have an innate capacity for clarity, for peace of mind, for connection, for innovation, for creativity, for love, for results, what's getting in the way of it, and where does that come from? Does that make sense? Because if we can get rid of that, then you're going to have that clear mind. You're going to have that quiet head. You're going to have the motivation you need and the connection you need and all of that. Does that make sense in principle? Like, are we on the right track? Like, what the hell are you talking about? It's kind of interesting, actually. Like, if the thing of an additive approach is you plus 7 top tips equals super you, then what I'm saying is you minus a misunderstanding equals super you. And I was doing a talk to a group of actuaries, and they're good at math. And they said, actually, Jamie, the math would say that if you minus a misunderstanding equals super you, then really you already are super you. You just don't realize it. I said, you made my point for me, exactly. My point, you're capable of far more than you think because you are far more than you think. So I'm going to do one more thing and then we'll have a pause. Okay, so who's got children? Okay, whoever was a child. Okay, some of you. So when you were a kid, who had like a teddy bear or a lovey or something like that? Okay, lots of people. Apparently, according to a Travelodge report, 30% of adults who stay at Travelodge still bring a teddy bear or a lovey with them. So that would probably be 1/3 of the people in the room. So that's cool. You don't have to say. So, little kid has a, oh God, what happened to that teddy bear? That went badly. Has a teddy bear. Massive, weird-looking teddy bear. Now that little kid, right, is given that teddy bear as a transitional object and has it when they go to bed, and they get a nice feeling when they hold it, right? And it's called sometimes a transitional object or a security blanket or that sort of thing, because they get a feeling of comfort and security when they hold on to it. And it genuinely seems to the kid, right, like those feelings of comfort and security are coming from the bear. And you could put the kid on a lie detector and they would swear that that's coming from the bear. 100%, they would say that. And if you leave the bear on holiday by accident, the kid's freaking out and they think that's to do with the lack of a bear. And they think that's got something to do with the bear as well. It's a bear deficiency. But we know, right, that that bear is just full of stuffing. There's no way that that bear can be sending a feeling into the child. It's not a thing. There's no transmitters in the bear. There's no special equipment in the bear. That 100% of that feeling of comfort and security and peace and well-being and connection and okayness is coming from within the child. And 0% is coming from the bear. None of it's coming from the bear. 100% is coming from the child. So here's what's happening. The child, hanging onto the bear, gets a nice feeling of peace, well-being, of clarity. It gives them a nice feeling in their body. That's coming from within them. It's coming from 100% of it is coming from within the child. And then they're attributing it to the bear. Okay? The child goes, where is this feeling coming from? Oh, it's coming from my teddy. It's coming from the bear. But like scientifically, we can have a quick look and prove not fucking possible. Right? Does anyone disagree with that? Does anyone think there's some special power that teddy bears have and other generally stuffed items have? Care Bears maybe Beanie Baby out of production. No, it's a mistake of attribution. It's a trick of the mind. It's a trick of the mind. Now it's a very compelling trick of the mind. See, 100% of that experience of peace and well-being is coming from within the child, from within their nature. It's their nature, and they're attributing it to the bear. And we can probably agree on that, or if anyone has questions about it, I'll answer them over the lunch, but that's just the way it works. But it really seems like the bear's got something to do with it, right? It does. When you're a kid, it really seems like the bear's got something to do with it, but it doesn't. It doesn't. 100% is coming from within the body of the child. You could give the child a Donald Trump doll, and it would have the same effect, or a Hillary Clinton doll, or a Osama bin Laden doll, and it would still have the same effect because it's all being created from within the child. None of it's coming from the doll or the bear or the blanket. It just looks like it is, like it really looks like it is. So we agree on this. I think we agree on this anyway. So I'm saying it's 100% inside out. And it's 0% outside in. It's coming from within the child, but they're attributing it to outside of them. Anyone disagree with this? Okay, good, we can move on. That's the way it works with bears. That's the way it works with money. That's the way it works with bosses. That's the way it works with partners. That's the way it works with hairstyles. That's the way it works with cool shoes. That's the way it works with the future. That's the way it works with the past. That's the way it works with our bodies. That's the way it works with our personalities. That's the way it works with our thoughts and ideas about ourselves. They're all teddy bears. There's nothing in this world that can give you a feeling. You're always living in the feeling of thought in the moment. And because of the nature of our perceptual properties, it can absolutely seem like we're feeling something other than our moment-to-moment thought-generated perceptual reality. But we never are. Now, when I say your thought-generated perceptual reality, here's a way of thinking about it. You mentioned moods. This is kind of weird. It may not look like this to you. Well, it definitely won't. But if you stop and think about it for a moment, your brain is locked inside your skull. And there are no windows in your skull. Okay, there are windows in this room. We can look out the window. There are no windows in your skull. It's dark in there. data pours in through your senses, your eyes, your ears, your tactile senses, all that. And then your brain makes a guess. It goes, what must be out there for me to be receiving this data? So your senses are kind of like USB ports. They're just pouring data into your head. And then your brain goes, what's my best guess at what must be out there? And then your mind creates a 3D virtual reality that is a guess at what's out there. And I'll prove it to you. Have you ever had that, yeah you have, where you're walking down the street and you see someone you know and you start waving at them and then they get a little closer and it's not fucking them and you're like, oh, right? The reason you're laughing is because you fucking done it, okay? Now, it's not like you saw them and you thought, at least 50%, that's my pal, I'll give it a shot. No, you actually saw them. Your mind created them and you saw them and you recognized them and you started waving. Then when they got a little bit closer, your mind just went, oops, sorry. And all of a sudden oh. That's because the person that you saw was happening inside your mind, not out there. It's happening right now. You know, you can see me and me doing this. This is happening inside your mind, even this bit out here. I'm not saying there's not a physical reality, there is. But your experience of it is being generated from within you. Your perceptual experience is more like wearing a pair of 3D virtual reality goggles than it is looking out a window or looking through a pair of glasses. So your feelings are always letting you know about the goggles you're wearing, moment to moment to moment. Your feelings don't know about anything other than the goggles you're wearing. And that's why you can go to sleep at night and be really worried about something, and then you wake up the next morning like, why was I even worried about that for? It's no problem. Anyone had that? Yeah. I had it last night about this talk. I'm like, oh my God. And I wake up this morning, oh, it's going to be fine. The world hadn't changed. All that had changed was the goggles you were wearing. So this trick of the mind, the tendency we have to attribute our felt experience to something other than our perceptual properties moment to moment to moment, is what causes most of the problems in the world. It's what's behind the wars, it's behind the majority of crime, it's what's behind most of relationship breakdown, it's what's behind stress, anxiety, it's what's behind the huge increase in mental health challenges for people. So, what I'm suggesting is that the source of a quiet mind, the source of mental clarity, is right there within you. It's your natural state. You're built for reality. You and your millions of generations of ancestors have spent all of eternity adapting to life on this planet. You're really, really good at it. And you know, if you go through history, you find that as human beings, we've had misunderstandings of how the world works. So they used to believe, like everyone used to believe, that the earth was flat. It's not flat. It's not flat, it's spherical. But people used to know that it was flat. They used to believe that the earth was the center of the universe, but it isn't. It isn't. We had a misunderstanding. You know why they thought that the sun went around the earth? Because it looks like it does. It really looks like it does, but it isn't. The earth's going around the sun. It's a trick of the mind. They used to believe that infection was caused by bad smells. The operating theaters in the 1700s and 1800s were disgusting because they didn't know about germs. They didn't think it was important to have hygiene in operating theaters. They just didn't know. They believe. Now, we live in the modern day and we've got, you know, iPhones and computers and cars and all this stuff, so we think, oh, well, we must know how the mind works. No, we don't. The world is currently living in a fundamental misunderstanding about how the mind works. And that's why we're seeing so many people struggling with that stuff. And that's why we have questions about all the things we wrote up on the board, because we've been taught that we live in an outside-in world where teddy bears can make you feel a certain way, and they just can't. And so I'll say this and then we'll pause. Here's what I'm suggesting. A couple of things. Every beautiful feeling that you have ever experienced in your whole life came from within you. Every experience of happiness, every experience of joy, every experience of love and connection and peace, every feeling of security and well-being, all of it came from within you. None of it came from anywhere else, from anything else, from anyone else. It all came from within you. Same with all the unpleasant feelings as well. Every beautiful feeling you're ever going to experience is going to come from within you. And what that means is there's nothing out there in the world that can ever make you feel a certain way. And by out there in the world, I mean in other people, in your circumstances, in your bank balance. I've worked with multimillionaires who are feeling insecure and anxious and worried about money. The fact that they've got millions of quid in the bank and huge property holdings has no effect on it. You know, we saw just a few weeks ago, Anthony Bourdain and Kate Spade both killed themselves. They were both loaded, but all that money gave them no feeling of security, because there's not enough money in the world to give a person a feeling of security. Just like there aren't enough teddy bears in the world to make a person feel secure, because the only place security ever comes from is from within you. And you have it within you. It's there within every human being. When I was sitting with Pete that night, and Dave, nearly 10 years ago, it was 9 years ago, the insight I had was, oh, the fact that a person can even see or hear or feel right now means you have the source of mental health and well-being and security and peace of mind and creativity and motivation and high performance and love and joy and happiness and success already there within you. It's just how it works. Just like they used to think the sun went round the earth when actually the earth went round the sun, we've spent our whole lives being told that the feelings are coming from out there in the teddy bears when they're actually coming from within you. And my assertion is, as you see that for yourself, you're going to have a lot less on your mind, and you're going to have more of the instincts and intuitions and well-being that allows you to do what you're here to do and enjoy the people you're doing it with and make the difference you're here to make. So let's pause there. We'll pause there for 20 minutes and then we'll get back and do Q&A and speak to the things on the list. Sound good? Okay, see you in 20. What I'm going to suggest to you guys is that there are only two problems that anyone ever has. Okay, number one, preoccupation. When I first start working with clients, they're preoccupied. They've got a lot on their mind. They've typically got something that they've been thinking about a lot. They've been overthinking. So I was having a chat with various people at the break, and what I noticed is that all of us sometimes get preoccupied. And the things we tend to get preoccupied with are the things that seem real to us and like they have power over us. So we've all had the experience. We're preoccupied about a relationship or a job or a task we need to do, or our weight or our health or our personality. Or sometimes people will get preoccupied with the fact that they've been preoccupied about stuff. Okay, so that's the first thing everyone has. And sometimes it's one specific thing. Sometimes it's a bunch of things, but that's the first problem. And the thing is, what you find is at the times when you're not preoccupied, you do fine. Have you noticed this? That when you're not overthinking it, you do quite well? Anyone else notice that? Okay, yeah. Well, that's because, remember, you have an innate capacity for thriving and surviving on this planet, right? It's an innate capacity. You're built for it. You are like literally custom designed for life on this planet. So like no better place for you to live. So you're built for it. But sometimes we get preoccupied, and when we're preoccupied, we're hanging out in a different world. We're not in the world that we're built for. We're in an imaginary world where feelings can be caused by stuff out there. It doesn't work that way. It works inside out. But we sometimes believe it works the other way, and when we do, we get preoccupied. And the reason we get preoccupied is because if we believe our feelings are coming from out there, then it's scary. And we want to get control over out there. Whether out there is other people, or our money, or our job, or our future, or our past. The moment we believe our experience is coming from somewhere other than ourselves, we feel a little bit out of control. Like, I'll show you, check this out. Literally do this. It won't work if you don't do it. Tap yourself gently on the head. Feels totally safe, right? You're not concerned about it. Now, what would happen if the person next to you reached over and did the same thing? Feels different, right? It's a totally different experience. Why is it different? Because it's completely different when you know you're doing it to yourself. It may feel exactly the same, but it's not scary. Because you know it's not coming from anywhere other than within you. That's why, it's the same reason why you can't tickle yourself. Every time I say that, someone goes, I can. I'm like, okay, go ahead, show us. They go, oh yeah, no, I can't. Yeah, you can't tickle yourself, because part of tickling, everyone's trying now, go for it, knock yourself out. Part of how tickling works is you feel out of control. That's what makes tickling ticklish, is you feel out of control. You're at the mercy of someone else. If you try and do it to yourself, you can't do it because you know it's you. As soon as you know it's actually you, and I don't mean just telling yourself it's you, like actually realize, oh, it's all coming from you. It's liberating. It's liberating. So that's the first thing they all have. They show up preoccupied. And maybe it's some goal they want to achieve or some change they want to make, but they've been thinking about it a lot. And the second thing they have is they're underestimating. They're underestimating who they are and what they've got going for them. They're underestimating that their mind is a self-clearing system. That, you know, if you stop and think about it, if you get a cut or a scrape or a scratch or a bruise, your body instantly initiates thousands of wound healing cascades that repair the damage and make you good as new. In fact, the vast majority of the cuts, scrapes, bruises, injuries that you sustained in your life, you didn't even notice that they'd happened, and they healed automatically without you having to do anything. Same with all the food you've digested. You didn't have to think about it, you just ate it, and then it got digested and it got turned into, you know, bone and blood and all the things that food gets turned into. You didn't have to think about it. You didn't have to do anything about it. Now, we do all this stuff happens automatically. But then when it comes to our minds and our feelings, we think that we need to control them. No, you don't. No, you don't. It's a self-correcting system. You're born with a self-correcting system. And actually, you know this intuitively. Otherwise, whatever the nuttiest you've ever been is, you'd still be that nutty. Like, everyone here has been, well, I'll give you an example. Who sometimes gets really angry? Okay, now, have you noticed that the angrier you get, the smarter you think you are? Have you noticed that? Like, if you're really, really feeling angry, it's like, I'm fucking on to something, I know I'm right, I am quite brilliant at the moment. Now, who actually gets smarter the angrier they get? No one. Everyone gets dumber the angrier they get. But everyone feels smarter, okay? So, the feeling of anger is letting you know that sometimes you wear angry goggles. And when you're wearing angry goggles, you know, and it can really seem like it's coming from out there. But actually that feeling is letting you know about the goggles you're wearing. It's worth knowing when you're wearing angry goggles. It's not the best time to send text messages. My ex-girlfriend, so I was doing a 2-day retreat with a company. And so I'm in the middle of sharing all this stuff about your mind's a self-correcting system and all this stuff. And we pause for a morning break. And I pick up my phone and there's a text message from her. And it's what I used to call a hand grenade message. It was like canceling plans at no notice or something like that. And I read this message and I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? So I'm like, basically the fuck off and die text. So I was just about to hit send, and a thought pops into my mind, and I'm like, are you thinking clearly, Jamie? I'm like, as a matter of fact, I am. Fucking crystal, thank you very much. So then it occurs to me again. What occurs to me is, where do you believe your feelings are coming from? I'm like, do you believe they're coming from the text message, or from your phone, or from the girlfriend, or from the number of times she's done this before, or how much fun you'd have in a future that didn't include her? I was like, you know, for a minute there I did think that. It's like, well, that's not possible, is it? It's a teddy bear. So I'm like, okay, maybe I'll check later. So I saved the text and didn't send it. I go back to look at it later and I'm like, oh, no, that's not a... Now here's the thing. It genuinely seemed to me like my feelings were coming from her behavior, the text. I mean, they were just letting me know that in that moment I was wearing angry goggles. It's worth knowing when you're wearing angry goggles. Just like it's worth knowing when you're drunk, right? If you're drunk and you don't know you're drunk, you're going to be much more of a danger to yourself and others than if you're drunk and you know you're drunk, right? Like the person is like, no, I'm fine. It's like, no, you're not. You need to go home. It's like, so we tend to, when we're feeling something, as soon as we feel a certain way, if we look at this map, whether we're feeling motivated, or whether we're feeling confident, or whether we're feeling anxious, or positive, or sad, or whatever, as soon as we get a feeling, what we tend to do is we turn into Sherlock Holmes, and we're like, where's that coming from? And we look outside, we look to the future, or the past, or to other people, or to our personality, or to our bodies, or whatever, trying to answer. But the thing is, we're shit Sherlock Holmes. We're not good at it. The one place that it's coming from the goggles we're wearing. It's coming from inside of us. That's the thing that we don't look at. See, the thing is, you're wandering around day to day in a thought-generated perceptual reality. And it looks like an actual reality. And for practical purposes, it is. Like if I go like that, I'll hit a chair. So there's a good relationship between the internal perceptual reality I'm generating and whatever's out there in the world. But it genuinely looks like our felt experience comes from somewhere other than the moment. And it doesn't. It's coming from within you every single day of your life. And that's worth knowing. So let's go through some of these. How to silence thoughts. What I'm going to suggest is that your mind has a self-clearing capacity. Well, actually, let's check just by a show of hands, and I'm fine anyway. Who has found their mind getting quieter this morning? Look around, like half the room, maybe a third of the room. The reason your mind has got quieter isn't because you suddenly discovered a whole bunch of mind-clearing techniques while I wasn't looking. The reason your mind got quieter is because your mind has a natural capacity for quieting down. That's actually its default setting. That's what it's trying to get back to. So like, you know, who drives? Everyone, right? So, you know when you step on the gas and the engine speeds up and it's like, what happens when you take your foot off the gas? It goes into idle. That's its default setting. And so if you've been struggling, if you've had a lot on your mind, it's because your foot's on the gas, even though you're just sitting at the stoplight. So what's happened, if your head has quieted down over the last hour or so, is because you've taken your foot off the gas. It's a natural capacity that you have within you. And I say you not because you're so nice, it's every human being has within them. It's there in everyone. It's there in everyone. It's the way that we work. We've been taught that it works some other way, but it doesn't. It works this way. And I get that what I'm saying is basically everyone else is wrong and I'm right, but yeah, that is what I'm saying. So, motivation. You have an innate capacity for motivation. But here's the interesting thing that almost no one realizes. You don't need to feel motivated to take action. And often, the feeling of motivation shows up once you've already started. But when people struggle with motivation, what they're actually usually saying is, when I think about such and such, I don't feel motivated. Well, you don't need to feel motivated when you're thinking about it. You need to feel motivated when you're doing it. Does that make sense? So I could coach someone around motivation, actually, if we've got time. Empathy. So here's what I'm going to say about empathy. That feeling of connection, if you experienced it when you're listening to another person, when you listen deeply to another human being, it allows you to get a sense of their world. How are they seeing reality? You get a feel for them. And we all have a capacity for connection. It's built in. It's a built-in quality. And for a lot of us, we're just not used to it. We're not used to that being a thing. We're not used to even the possibility that we can have it with our colleagues, or with our family, or with our friends, or with our loved ones. And it's kind of interesting, actually. Like I told you, when I first came to this stuff, I wasn't a good listener. I thought I was. I thought I was a ninja listener, but I wasn't. And as I started to learn to listen to people, I started to feel more connected to people, sometimes to people I didn't even know. It's like, oh, that's interesting. How could I feel this connected to someone I don't even know? Well, I decided at some point, you know what? It makes sense to become a connoisseur of connection. Made me way better at sales. Way better. Because people felt understood. And the reason they felt understood is because they were understood, because I was actually listening rather than thinking, how can I get this person to buy what I'm selling them? If you want to experience greater empathy, listen better. Because what happens as you listen, I'll tell you a story. So I got invited to go speak on, to be interviewed on Sky Sports, which is breaking news, so going out to about 5.5 million people on TV. I got this call, and I'm like shitting myself, okay? Because it's scary for me. So I go, okay, I'll come do it. So I wasn't feeling motivated at all, by the way. I was feeling very motivated to go to my flat and hide. But they said, we'll send the car to you. I'm like, okay, I'll do it. Wasn't feeling motivated. Took me to the place, put me in the green room. So I'm sitting there waiting to go on air. And they said, we'll call you around 1 o'clock. So I'm waiting to go on air. And I felt so uncomfortable, really anxious and nervous and that sort of stuff. It was so bad that I'm getting up and I'm like pacing around the green room back and forth. And there's this other guy there who'd been on TV a million times. And he's like, how you doing? I'm like, not good. He's like, oh. What's up? I said, I'm really nervous, really anxious. I really want to run away. I don't want to do it. He's like, oh, what are you talking about? I'm like, state of mind and mental clarity, and how to be, you know, present and connected, and how to not be freaked out and that sort of thing. He's like, well, that looks like a problem to me. What are you going to do about it? I'm like, oh, nothing. He's like, why aren't you going to do anything about it? I said, well, I don't need to be clear-headed right now. I'm talking to you in the green room. I need to be clear-headed when I'm on air. He said, well, how are you going to do that? He said, I don't know. I just hope it happens. He's like, good luck. But the thing is, what I knew that he didn't is that your mind's a self-correcting system. There's a natural intelligence built in, and you can trust it. So they came to get me and walked me out on air. It was like Dermot Murnahan. And he starts interviewing me, and I go to sit. Now, the other thing is, just between us, I know jack shit about sports. I'm just not sporty. So all I know about is how the mind works. So every question he asked, I'm having to put it through that lens. So as I'm walking out there, I'm like, what do you got going for you, James? It's like, well, your mind's a self-correcting system. You know how to listen to people. He's going to be interviewing you. Better listen. So I'm like, oh yeah, that's a good idea. So I sat down, and he asked the first question. I listened as deeply as I could. I started feeling connected to the newscaster. And the answers came, and it went really, really well. But what I hadn't realized until I started learning this stuff is when you put your attention on listening to another person, your mind will clear. And you'll start experiencing the sense of connection that's actually always there in the background. Now, when I say connection, I'm not just talking about your feeling of connection to another human being. I'm talking about your feeling of connection to yourself, to who you really are, your true identity. So your identity isn't your outfit or your hairstyle or your body. Your identity, your true identity, isn't even your name or your ideas about yourself. You know, your name, you got assigned that at County Hall. Your parents, you know, when you're a little kid, they took you down there, and County Hall said, what do you got there? And they said, oh, I've got a Pete, or I've got a, you know, Bob, or a whatever. And I said, okay, here's a certificate. But you existed before you had a name. You existed before you knew anything about, you know, what you're like or any of the 1,000 things you've been told. Who you really are is before all of that stuff. Who you really are. See, you know, like, hold up your hand. Check this out. Literally do it, not just imaginarily. Say, this is my hand. Okay? Literally say it using words. This is my hand. Cool, huh? Now, go, this is my nose. With your nose, not mine. Yeah, this is my nose. This is my head. These are my thoughts. Now, here's the thing. When you were born, you didn't even know how to touch your nose. You learned to do that. You built a map of yourself and a map of your world and a map of the other people in it. And then at some point, you forgot that you're the one who created all that. And you started to think that you're the map that you made. But you're not. You're you. And you're not your hand. You have a hand, and you have probably a couple of them. You have a nose, and you have a head, and you have thoughts, and you have a personality. But you're not your hand, and you're not your nose, and you're not your head, and you're not your body, you're not your thoughts, you're not your personality. You're the one who has them. You're the one who has created and grown and developed them. That's who you really are. And that who you really are is always connected to life, always connected to other people, always connected to your true self. So there's nothing to be afraid of. So motivation is a natural state for human beings. The thing that gets in the way of it, it's hard to be motivated to things we think we should do. Thing is, another innate capacity you have is for authentic desires, the things you actually want to do, the things that matter to you, the things that are important to you. And when you're putting some time and attention and energy on the things that matter to you and are important to you and are significant to you, then it's almost like it creates a slipstream that gets you to do some of the things you should do as well. Like, who brushed their teeth in the last 7 days? Everyone, right? Is it because you were super motivated? No, you just fucking do it, right? You're not like, okay, this is going to be a toothbrushing day, woo, pump myself up, yeah, these teeth are going to get brushed. No, you just fucking do it, right? You don't have to be motivated to take action. You don't have to have self-belief to be able to do stuff. See, I work a lot with very, very successful entrepreneurs and that sort of thing. When I ask them about self-belief, I say, how are your levels of self-belief? They say, at best, fluctuating. Like some days I wake up and I'm like, ah, yeah, this is going to be great. Some days I wake up and I'm like, oh, I'm in no good shit. Some day, like, it fluctuates. If you believe that your feelings are letting you know about you, that's going to make for a rough ride. Your feelings are just letting you know about the goggles you're wearing. And as you start to see that for yourself, you realize you don't have to feel any particular way to do amazing things in the world. It's kind of cool. So what else we got? Coping mechanisms. Coping mechanisms are ways of changing how we feel now. When we believe our feelings are coming from outside of us, from our phones, or from other people, or from the past or the future, or from money, or from jobs, or from relationships, or whatever, if we think our feelings are coming from outside of us, and we want to change them, where do you think we look to change them? Outside. It's the most obvious place. If you think it's coming from outside, then that's where you're going to go to change it. And so a coping mechanism is something that someone's doing on the outside to try and change how they feel. And what you find with coping mechanisms at best is that they're hit and miss. They're not reliable. So my answer to, I think, was it you who, yeah, my answer to the coping mechanisms question is, to the best of your ability, dispense with them. You don't need them. You don't need them. Now, we still sometimes go for them. Like, we'll still sometimes have a cookie or whatever it might be that's on your list of coping mechanisms. But you don't need to do that. Your mind's a self-correcting system. See, your feelings are there to give you really useful feedback about the goggles you're wearing, but the goggles will change. They always do. You can't stay feeling the same way for any length of time. It always changes. So you don't need to cope. Coping is hard work. It's really hard work. It's tiring. You don't need to do that. You don't need to do that. What else we got on our list? Dealing with feeling of, oh, for fuck's sake. I don't actually know, what was that one? What was that one? What do you mean by the feeling of, oh, for fuck's sake, sir?
It's when things happen that, I mean, the answer is deal with it. Some things happen, deal with it, and get rid of the feeling, I guess, but it's...
So the answer was, some things happen, deal with it, get rid of the feeling. Here's my experience. In life, lots of stuff's going to happen. Some of it you'll be like, yay, that's great. Some of it's going to like, oh, for fuck's sake, that's terrible. Like, stuff happens, no doubt about it. The idea that we can get life working so every day is wonderful and everything works out the way we want it to, not a thing, not a thing. And we all have ups and downs in mood, not an issue. The issue comes when we think that it's not okay to be feeling how we're feeling. And feelings are actually really useful. They're just letting you know about the goggles you're wearing, which is worth knowing. Is worth knowing. So you don't have to do anything about it. You may have to get on with it and take care of the thing that needs sorting out, but you don't have to do anything about how you feel. Your mind will self-correct. Confidence, it's another one. Like, and I think about it as there are two kinds of confidence. There's the kind of confidence that comes from competence. So like if you're a competent guitarist or a competent driver or a competent analyst or then you've learned how to do something, and so you're confident at it. So I guess that you're all confident walkers. You don't have to like pump yourself up to go for a walk. You're like, okay, yeah, you don't really have any. Is it fair to say that when it comes to what? Well, just stand up for a second, literally, not just in an imaginary way. Literally stand up. Check this out. Just jog a little bit on the spot. Actually do it. It's okay. It won't hurt. Okay, you can stop now. Wave. This is mostly for my amusement at this point, but okay, you can sit down again. Now here's the interesting thing. Just to do what you did, standing up, jogging a bit, waving, sit down again, involves a whole bunch of amazing things, including having an embodied understanding of the principle of gravity and its implications, of understanding your body and how it works and how it relates to other objects like chairs and that sort of thing, how to orient yourself in space and orient your hand in space. All of that is stuff you do automatically without even thinking about it. So there's a kind of confidence that is just based on competence. You know how to do something, so you don't have to think about it. But there's another kind of confidence, which is like the confidence that a 2-year-old has. Like if you were all 2-year-olds or 3-year-olds, maybe even 4-year-olds, and I said, hands up who can sing, everyone's hands would be up, right? Hands up who can dance, everyone's hands would be up. And you'd be jumping at the chance to do it, because 2-year-olds are unusually confident in themselves. Not confident, they know there are lots of things they don't know how to do yet, but they're not preoccupied with themselves. They're not concerned about themselves. Someone out there, they're not preoccupied with themselves. They're not thinking about themselves. They're just thinking about, oh, that looks like fun. So it's a different kind of confidence. Now, what I'm going to suggest is there are some things that if you want to be confident in doing them, you need to be competent at them. You need to learn. But for everything else, there's innate confidence. Your innate confidence that you're going to be able to figure it out. Your innate confidence that you're going to know what to do when you need to do it. Your innate confidence. It's interesting. So I often coach people on business building and starting businesses and that sort of thing. So I was coaching this woman at a conference, okay? And I said, so what do you want? And she said, well, I'm trying to start a new business and I'm trying to be positive, but I think, you know, what if it doesn't work out? And I try not to think those thoughts. I'm trying to be positive, but sometimes I get worried and I'm procrastinating and I think I should, I'm like, oh, well, let me fix that for you. And she goes, oh, what? I said, first of all, with your business, it might not work out. She's like, what? I'm like, oh yeah, have you seen the numbers? Businesses fail every day. Yeah, it might not work out. She's like, you're not supposed to say that. You're supposed to tell me it should definitely work. It's like, no, it might not. That's not the issue. The issue isn't that things might not work out the way you want them to. Like in life, lots of things won't work out the way you want them to. That's not an issue. The issue is you don't think you could handle it. And you can. You're way, way more than you think. You can totally handle it. You'd be fine. Might be the best thing that ever happened to you. Now, on the other hand, it might work out exactly the way you want it to. Or it might work out the way you want it to and then you realize what you actually want is to do something different. Who knows? But however it works out, that's not the issue. The issue is to realize you can handle it. You've got an innate capacity for resilience. You've got an innate intelligence that has evolved you to be able to deal with the things that are going to show up in your life. You're going to be okay. You're going to be okay. I'm not saying you might not have ups and downs. I'm not saying that every relationship's going to work out great and every business you get involved in is going to get done. I'm saying you're going to be fine. Nothing to worry about. There's shit that happens, like, you know, wear your seatbelt and be prudent and that sort of thing, but you can handle it. You wouldn't believe the stuff that people can handle. You're capable of far, far more than you think, because you are far, far more than you think. Now, effective communication. I'm going to go back to listening on that one. If you want to get a 100% increase in your abilities as a communicator, who'd like a 100% increase in their communication abilities? Okay, that's a good enough number. A 1% increase in your listening, a 1% improvement in your listening is going to deliver you a 100% increase in your abilities as a communicator. That's a good return on investment. If you're willing to listen 1% better, you'll become a way better communicator. Because the key to being a good communicator is understanding who you're talking to. Understanding what makes sense in their world. Understanding what looks relevant to them. So that's my top tip on communication. And by the way, when it comes to communication, connection, the experience of connection, the feeling of connection, is like the transformation superhighway. It's like the communication superhighway. Everyone listens better when they feel that they're being listened to, when they feel that the person they're in conversation with understands them and cares about them. So yeah, if you want to be a better communicator, listen better. So moods. Why do our moods fluctuate? They just do. Like, that's just the way we're made. We all, like, I've been in 50 different moods today. That's just the way it goes. It goes up and down. We go in and out. Sometimes we get preoccupied. We get something on our mind. Our mood change. Like, it goes up and down. That's the way it works. It's totally natural. It's totally normal. It ebbs and flows. Because remember, we're walking around in a like, it's so weird. A virtual reality, a thought-generated perceptual reality. This is science, like, this is neurology. It was figured out in 1850 that in 1852, we don't experience the world directly. We're actually experiencing an internally generated, what neuroscientists are calling a controlled hallucination. Like, you're hallucinating right now. That's you, that is. That's you creating this experience right now from inside your neurological and psychological properties. And if that doesn't seem really fucking weird to you, I haven't explained it clearly enough. It's super fucking weird. It's really odd. It doesn't seem like that, does it? It looks like you're looking out through little windows in your head at me over here, but you're not. Your brain is in a sealed container. You're generating a perceptual reality and experiencing it as an actual reality. That's extraordinary. So your mood, what I'm calling thought, which is the power that's creating your whole reality, it's a variable. It's going to ebb and flow, and your mood will let you know what it's doing. That's worth knowing. It's going to ebb and flow. It's totally normal. You don't need to cope with it. You don't need to fix it. There's nothing wrong with you. You work beautifully. There's nothing wrong with you. Why our moods? That's why procrastination. And we'll come back to that. Control. Controlling what, specifically? Who said control? It was back there. Yeah. What do you want to control?
I suppose, like, a little bit similar to what Ray said. So when things hit the fan, how do you deal with those feelings?
Got it. I don't recommend trying to control how you feel. When the shit hits the fan in the world, there are actually a variety of ways to responding to it. And you'll find that that's true. Like, you'll say, like, if I say, oh, what's the worst thing that's happened this week? You'll have 10 people say it was this, 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 or this. Like, who loves public speaking? Okay, like 2 of us, maybe 3. Who would literally rather die than come up here and speak? I'm not going to pick on you. Okay, now interesting. Public speaking is considered to be the #1 fear. It's ahead of spiders and death in the UK. There are a huge number of people, something like 50 to 70% of people, would literally rated that they would prefer to die than speak in public, okay? I get it. I used to be terrified of public speaking. Now, I fucking love public speaking. So to me, the thing that's a highlight of my week, getting to speak to a group of people, for someone else would be the worst thing that had ever happened to them, okay? So what I'm suggesting to you, which may sound insane, I grant you, is you don't need to do anything about how you feel. Like, there's the world, there's the stuff that's going on in the world, and our experience of it. And sometimes I'll tell you a story. So my youngest daughter, Tallulah, when she was little, she really wanted to go with me to Alton Towers to ride the roller coasters. But she was too small, so you got to wait till you're tall enough to go on the roller coasters. So finally she was tall enough. So we go along there, we get to the first roller coaster, and we're in the queue for it. It was called Air at the time, and it's one of these ones where you're strapped in a Superman position. And so we're really excited. She'd been wanting to do this for years. We get there, and we're in the queue, and she starts freaking out a little bit. She's like, I'm scared. Oh, I don't know if I want to go on. Oh, was this a bad idea? Da 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 da. So we're still in the queue. I said, well, here's an interesting thing, Tallulah. You're feeling freaked out, but you're not actually on the roller coaster. We're just standing in the queue. You're feeling thought. You're not feeling the roller coaster. You just think you are. She was like, oh, yeah, And she still went in and out, got freaked out. So finally we get to the front of the queue. We get on the roller coaster. We go on the roller coaster. She fucking loved it. She's like, that was amazing. That was amazing. I said, yeah, what do you make of that? She's like, that was one of the coolest things I've ever done. I said, yeah, but remember, when you're in the queue, you're feeling uncomfortable. I said, what do you make of that? She said, I guess when I was in the queue, I thought I was feeling the roller coaster, but I was just feeling the goggles I'm wearing. I'm like, you got it. She's like, wow, that's amazing. Let's go on another one. So then she said, I want to go on Oblivion. Now, Oblivion is shit scary, if anyone's. She bet me £1 that she wouldn't scream on Oblivion. I said, kid, that's £1 you're going to lose. She's like, no, I wasn't scared on the last one. I'm not going to be scared on this one. I said, no, you don't know that. It's all moment to moment. You don't know what's going to happen. You're going to experience whatever you experience. She's like, I bet you £1. I took her bet, and I took her quid. She screamed her lungs out. It's terrifying if you've ever been on it. But this is the thing. What would it mean if you just got the day off from having to control how you feel? If you knew that there's no feeling that can harm you or hurt you? There really isn't. That you're perfectly safe, there's nothing wrong with you, you're totally okay. That you're actually built for reality. You're built to thrive, to prosper, to solve, to succeed, to learn. You're built for it. You know, literally millions of years you've been in development for this planet. You're capable of way, way more than you think. Way, way more. We'll come back to procrastination. Feeling better about yourself. So this is going to sound strange, what I'm going to say. The #1 way to feel better about yourself is to realize that your feelings aren't telling you about yourself. Your feelings don't even know that you exist. Your feelings are 100% telling you about the goggles you're wearing. Who you really are, your true self, is the source of all the beauty you've ever experienced in your life. It's the source of peace and love and joy and happiness and well-being. That's who you really are. And then there's your personality, which is kind of like a Halloween costume that you've made up. Well, if you want to feel better about your personality, I don't know what to suggest. Get a more charming personality, I guess. But I don't really recommend wasting any time on that. The best way to feel better about yourself is A, really, really start to see that your feelings aren't letting you know about yourself. Just like your feelings aren't letting you know about the teddy bear. They're letting you know about the goggles you're wearing. Now, when you're wearing a pair of whatever goggles, anything you look at will seem like it's the cause of whatever. If you're wearing grateful goggles, you know, sometimes you wake up and like, oh, I feel so happy to be alive. Well, then all of a sudden, everything you look at looks like that's why, okay? Because we have this tendency to attribute what we're feeling to whatever we're aware of. But your feelings are always telling you about what's showing up in the moment from within you. They're unrelated to what's going on in the world, 100% of the time. So the other way, the other thing, so the first thing is to understand what your feelings are, where your feelings are coming from. The other thing is to remember who you really are. See, you're not your name, and you're not your body, you're not your personality, you're not any of that stuff. You're the one who's creating your experience of this moment to moment. That's who you really are. You know, there's a quote by a guy called Teilhard de Chardin. That's probably not how you pronounce his name, but that's how I read it. He said, we're not human beings on a spiritual journey. We're spiritual beings on a human journey. Well, it looks to me like we're actually one being on 7 billion human journeys. Like we're all the same. We're all connected. We're all part of the same consciousness. Like that's who you really are, is consciousness, is awareness. That's your nature. You know, if you attach your well-being, your happiness, your security to the stuff in the world, whether it's money or bodies or buildings or people or whatever, that stuff's transient. That's going to go. That's going to go. Jobs come and go, money comes and goes, people come and go, health comes and goes, hair comes and goes, apparently. It goes. Well, if you think about it, if you pretend that your feelings of security, of well-being, of peace of mind and clarity come from things that are temporary, then you'll be scared. When you realize that it's an expression of who you really are, which is consciousness, which is presence, then there's nothing to fear, because consciousness is before time, space, and matter. It's eternal, it's timeless, it's constant. Who you really are is constant. And what that means is you cannot be a victim of circumstance. Can you feel how quiet it is in the room right now? That's what happens when so many people's heads get quiet at the same time. Positive thinking, how to have more positive thoughts. The secret, in my experience, to having more positive thoughts is to stop believing things that are untrue. As you start to see that most of the negative, uncomfortable thoughts are just being generated, like negative, uncomfortable thoughts and feelings will come and go. As soon as we turn into a shit Sherlock Holmes and start looking for a reason for them that isn't the goggles we're wearing, then we have them stick around. So just see that, and I promise you, you'll have more positivity in your life. Just seeing the truth of that. What else we got? My writing's too small. Understanding yourself better. Well, that's what all of this is about. It's all about understanding yourself better. Understanding who you really are and how your mind works. That's basically my job. Relaxation. Who feels a little more relaxed than they did 2 hours ago? Interesting. Now, I haven't done anything particularly relaxing. We haven't done any yoga or anything. But what you're feeling is what happens as your mind settles down into its default position. Self-belief, oh yeah, irrelevant. So it's 12:30. I need the bathroom, so I'm going to be gone for 2 minutes. We can do some Q&A. However, here's my sense. It feels like everyone's kind of come into it for a landing. So if it makes sense to you guys, why don't we pause here, and I'll happily answer questions for anyone who wants them, but not kind of in front of the group, just standing around having a coffee or some food. But anyone who just wants to kind of chill out and hang out, you can do that too. Does that make sense, Pete and Dave, to do that? Just pause here, then I'll answer questions kind of unofficially and informally. Go ahead, Pete. Procrastination. Oh, let's come back to procrastination. Thank you. So here's how procrastination works. I'm impressed that you remembered, Dave.
My head was elsewhere.
So if this is now, and that's later, and this is Bob, and Bob's got some task he's got to do. Let's say tidy his room. Bob's got to tidy his room up. And Bob thinks about it and then gets a bored feeling. Okay? And he's thinking about the job of tidying the room, which is out here, you know, some future thing. Thinks about it, gets the bored feeling, believes that the feeling is telling him about the future, not possible. And goes, oh, I'll do that later. I don't feel like it. Your feelings don't know about the future. Your feelings only know about now. So there's this thing called hedonic prediction. Hedonic prediction is our ability to predict how we'll feel in light of future events. There's a famous study They looked at the cases of two groups of people. First group of people, people who had won the lottery, won significant amounts of money on the lottery. Second group of people, people who had been made paraplegic or quadriplegic in accidents. So they did a psychological study with these two groups of people, and they followed up with them a year later. They wanted to find out what would be the psychological effect of these two things, winning the lottery a year down the line, getting made quadriplegic or paraplegic a year down the line. Now we would expect, wouldn't we, that the people who won the lottery would be happier a year later and the people who got made quadriplegic would be sadder a year later, right? We certainly live in a society that would tell us that's the case. But what they discovered a year later, the people who were unhappy when they won the lottery were unhappy a year later. The people who were happy when they won the lottery were happy a year later. The people who were unhappy when they became quadriplegic or paraplegic were unhappy a year later. And the people who were happy when they became quadriplegic or paraplegic were happy a year later. See, we think we're good at predicting how we would feel in future situations, but we're not. So procrastination, a person has something they want to do, they make a prediction about how it's going to make them feel, decide I don't want to feel like that, so they don't do it. But their feelings aren't telling them about the activity or the task or the thing. Their feelings are telling them about the goggles they're wearing in that moment. You see that for yourself, you're going to get a lot more shit done. You don't have to feel any particular way to take action. So that's how procrastination works. It's just the future thing that the person's thinking about is just another teddy bear. It's just another teddy bear. So we're going to pause. I'm going to run to the gents, and I'll come back and I'll informally answer any questions you may have. Sound like a plan? Let's go.